Mentioned in the Pulse, the son of President Biden, Hunter Biden, is set to go on trial today for allegedly illegally purchasing and possessing a handgun while being addicted to drugs, which of course is a violation of federal law.
This is the first time in our history a child of a sitting president is going on trial. Joining us now as jury selection begins is attorney Karon. Danny, thank you for joining us on Morning on Merit Street today.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You know, Danny, let's start with why we're here. Two reasons. First, Hunter Biden allegedly purchasing and possessing a handgun while being addicted to drugs and lying on an application, which is a federal crime. That is the alleged crime. Second, these charges were initially part of a plea agreement that fell apart last year when the judge began questioning the merits of the deal. That same judge that's presiding over this trial in Wilmington, Delaware. So let's look at kind of the timeline of how we got to this point.
Well, there was a plea deal several months ago offered to Judge Norica. That's where both sides get together. They want to resolve the case short of going to trial. And the plea deal would have had Hunter Biden pleading guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges in exchange for probation and the federal felony gun charge being dropped. Thing is, under withering questioning by the judge to both sides, she picked it apart, saw that they really didn't have a meeting of the minds, sent them back to do some more homework, get a better deal in place. But Hunter Biden's team came back and said, you know what? No dice. We're not going to accept a plea anymore. We're going to plead not guilty. We're going to trial.
Danny, let's talk about jury selection. What will lawyers on both sides of this case look for in potential jurors?
Boy, the prosecution really wants sympathetic jurors. People sympathetic to addiction, sympathetic to drug issues, probably women. They probably don't want business owners who are really tactical and technical and rigid in their thinking and approach to things. The defense is going to want more rigid people, unrelenting, unforgiving, to the extent they can glean that from the jury questionnaires, which the judge is going to have everybody fill out ahead of time. Yeah. And then they're both going to have a chance, that is both sides, to pick away and bump and kick different jurors for different reasons. Some articulated, some kept to themselves, but they're going to end up having a panel of 12 folks picked by cooperation of both sides.
Yeah. Well, you pointed out just a few moments ago that it was Hunter Biden's team that elected to take this case to trial. So what's at stake for Hunter Biden if found guilty?
Well, 25 years in jail is at stake for Hunter Biden. Personally, I can't fathom why he would go to trial. I mean, the evidence really seems unsurmountable. The prosecution has to show that he was an addict or a user at the time he filled out the form and bought the gun. Now, in defense, he's going to say, hey, listen, I might have been, but I didn't know it. I wasn't sure. I'd come off an 11-day treatment. I was living with a sober person. Subjectively, I didn't think I was a user or an addict. The prosecution's going to say it's not a subjective standard. Look at your memoir, Beautiful Things. You confessed to being a user for years and years. We all know you were. You know you were. That's all you need for us to find you guilty.
Danny, as you know, Hunter Biden has pleaded not guilty to the 3 charges against him, and his father has tried to distance himself from this case. Is that a good strategy?
Well, the pleading not guilty is a bad strategy. The distancing himself is probably a good strategy because the president can't get involved. It's just too partisan. Thing is, it's a Democratic-run Justice Department that's pushing this case. That's the irony in this whole thing. So to the extent folks think it's maybe political, pursuing your own son, Merrick Garland, your own AG, pursuing your own son, I think is a genuinely brought case by District Attorney, or I should say, U.S. Attorney David Weiss, who's been elevated to special counsel by Merrick Garland, a Biden-appointed Attorney General. So there's a whole lot of drama and intrigue and personality swirling about this cauldron of a case that probably never should have gone to trial.
Yeah. Well, speaking about the drama that is swirling right now, we now know that prosecutors do plan to call about a dozen witnesses, including 3 of Hunter Biden's former romantic partners, to testify. We also know the president has recently come under scrutiny for actually visiting one of the key witnesses, which is Hunter Biden's ex-wife, leaving a secret detail, going into her home, talking with her. She is the one that prosecutors allege threw the gun in the dumpster. Could prosecutors bring this up as potential witness tampering?
Well, the prosecutors can bring up whatever they like. Whether it will get into evidence as probative versus unduly prejudicial is a rule for the judge to decide under Federal Rule of Evidence 403. There's going to be a lot of explosive testimony sought to be introduced. Whether it gets in or not is a question of law for the judge, and how the judge rules can really direct the appeal, because there will be a lot of appellate issues, probably many of which will go to jury selection, jury instructions and evidentiary rulings.
Okay. Well, Attorney Danny Karon, thank you for breaking it down. We will wait and see what happens. Thanks for your time.
It's been my pleasure.